Legends of Lore. Alright guys, welcome to the Legends of Lore program. We are still chronicling the new adventures of Jean-Luc Picard and his latest series, Star Trek Picard. This is Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters.
Woohoo! Yes, imposters. I'm Shirley Singleton.
I'm Joe Manuola.
And welcome to
Legends
of
Lore.
Alright.
Okay, so last episode we kind of almost resolved a couple things, you know, like the immediate threat of Vedic and the changelings seem to have been thwarted, and now it was time to see what happens next.
Yeah, so I'm excited. It was a good episode, another good episode. This season they just seem to keep hitting hard.
Yep, they're knocking it out of the park. Every single episode has been almost non-stop, either action or very well-executed drama. There has not been a lot of filler so far, and there's not been a lot of subpar material. This has been steadily high quality from scene to scene.
Yep.
Okay, so we kind of start out in an interesting scene with Jack taking out the crew. You know, the crew's just kind of regrouping after the, you know, battles and such, and little bit of much needed reflection on everything that's been happening. And Jack just comes in there like a stone cold killer and takes them all out with what looks to me at least like an old style phaser. Is that like a original season style phaser, or what's up?
I don't know, but I mean, he wakes up with the phaser, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, where does he get the phaser from?
Where does he get the phaser? This is all questions that we need answers. You know, so then we jump to reality where Picard and Riker are, you know, it looks like they might just have to face the music for their chicanery.
Right.
For their, you know, precociousness.
Yeah.
They've been pretty loosey-goosey with the rules, and it looks like maybe there might be a reckoning.
Yeah. So that's always interesting to see, like, you know, the more real life ramifications that could happen in, you know, like science fiction.
Right, because sometimes in television and fiction, you know, you kind of see people throw caution to the wind and break all the rules, and then everything turns out good in the end, but you don't really get to see that next step of, okay, well, you had to break the rules for everything to turn out good in the end. Are you going to face any kind of consequences for that? But they don't shy on that here.
Yeah.
They actually make it a great segue into, you know, what possibly is the next part of the story. But, you know, wasn't there a situation with, like, basically Jean-Luc talking to Jack about Starfleet?
Oh, yeah, he was saying, oh, yeah, you know, like, there's plenty of rebel that have found their way into Starfleet, you know, which is kind of foreshadowing what happens in the rest of this episode. I mean, this episode, I was not expecting it. I mean, it kind of took me unawares, you know, that they were really good at keeping secrets, and it was a real shocker. Yeah,
it really came out of left field, and, you know, like, really, really interesting stuff. You know, so now we have the Intrepid that is, you know, here, seemingly to render aid to the Titan, but it looks like might be a tad bit more confrontational than that even. You know, they put it under official security review and say they're going to, like, ship out most of the crew. And, you know, like, the exterior shots where they have the face-off between the Intrepid and the Titan, they really do make the Intrepid look very fancy, much more intimidating than the Titan, much bigger and faster and more aggressive than the Titan.
Yeah, it did have, like, a much more aggressive profile than the Titan. And what I thought was funny about this scene was, like, you know, Shaw in the elevator, and he's, like, you know, humming,
yeah,
you know, because he's like, oh, you know, like, you know, these guys are gonna, like, get it, you know, he's like...
And he calls them out, too. They're like, we've saved the galaxy. He's like, well, yeah, but you've also almost destroyed the galaxy.
Yeah.
And he really takes him to task.
Yeah, he does. I like Shaw more and more every time.
Every episode, yeah. He's the guy you love to hate.
Yep.
I mean, shout out to that actor again. But, okay, so probably the big standout thing from this episode would be the return of a Star Trek favorite. Not always the most talked about character from the Next Generation, but definitely a pivotal one and a memorable one.
Right. Yeah, Ro Laren.
Ro motherfucking Laren
That's
is
right.
back.
She's
And
back like a boss.
yeah, she's back and she has a chip on her shoulder.
Yeah.
She really, really not here to be nice.
No.
Very stern, very bitchy.
I mean, it's sort of like she gives off like Inquisitor vibes.
Very Inquisitor, very take no shit attitude. Okay, so we also, learn a bit more about the evolution of the changeling mythos, because it's apparently they got a couple new tricks up their sleeve, such as the ability to incorporate the physical structures of the human bodies into their shapeshifting.
Yeah, like create organs and stuff like that.
Create blood platelets.
Yeah.
Like they're getting really, really tricky with it and making it almost impossible for anyone to tell by any test if it's a changeling or not.
Yeah, except for like under severe
dissection.
whatever.
Yeah, they'd cut it. Basically, you'd have to cut them open, cut a piece out, cut that piece into little pieces, and then it'll finally turn back to goo.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be traumatized enough.
Right. So we get also a lot of after the Ro Laren reveal, there's a little bit of time for Picard and Riker to talk about this, and we get a bit of exposition filling in the gaps, but also retelling, what happened in the Next Generation with Ro's defection to the Maquis.
Yeah, it goes into her defection, and how she was originally sent there by Picard as kind of a plant, and it just kind of went wrong, or from Picard's point of view, But and the back and forth between them was. Well, I mean, it was something that people have been waiting for like 30 years to get like some type of, more Ro Laren. Because I was definitely wanting more Ro. It turns out that Michelle Forbes, the actress who played Ro Laren, that they had like set up Deep Space Nine, the Major Kira part, that was supposed to be Ro Laren. But she said that she didn't want to do it. Because she didn't want to commit to, it could have been like another 7 years or something like that, and then like all the conventions and stuff like that. And she said that she didn't want to commit to that.
That makes sense. Makes sense. I don't blame that. I don't blame her. We learned that, the Maquis are no longer an enemy, but, it's really easy for them not to be an enemy.
Well, yeah, they killed them all.
Exactly.
But yeah, and then like we also got to see like a little bit of Jack's dream from the beginning coming true when Seven comes up to him and is like, "Hey, your dad wants you to like wear this uniform, because these people are coming on board, and we need you to hide in plain sight."
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And Picard's pissed. He's really holding a grudge against Ro for her defection. And I mean, once again, Sir Patrick Stewart really is just an amazing actor, and really you could feel the bitterness from the character he's playing.
Right, and I like the way Riker's like, maybe I should just talk to her.
Right. And I don't know if we mentioned this before, but I'm loving Picard's outfit and Riker's outfit, and I really like Picard's badge, like his communicator badge that he has, like really cool looking, and it kind of follows in the line of, admirals always could dress a little different. You know what I mean, they were allowed to do something a little crazy.
Right.
So, Picard calls her out, and then she cuts herself. Is she a changeling?
Well, I mean, another thing is that, is she a changeling?
Yeah, because they do a really good editing of, okay, you have Beverly talking about, these new changelings, they can bleed and everything, and then they cut to Ro cutting herself, showing that she can bleed, and then they have the part where Picard, Picard gets his test results sent in, and changelings can look like anyone past all the tests. So they definitely do a good job of making this a red herring.
Yeah, there's that. But what I like about the scene, one of the things that I really like is that Ro bends down and she pulls out a boot knife.
Yes.
I mean, like, who else has a boot knife?
Right.
When was the last time you saw like a character in Star Trek with a boot
It seems
knife?
like a Section 31 kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little sketchy.
Right. And she doesn't have her earring, and then there's a lot of inconsistencies. Who knows who is who?
Right.
Yeah, the suspense and the uncertainty is played perfectly, which shows like very good storytelling. I'm really happy that I feel like there's been a huge quality improvement in the writing this season.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is, like the actress that played Ro, man, she still has the same gestures. Like she still would do the same old mannerisms, and I thought that was a great callback. And even though the lady herself doesn't look exactly the same, she definitely still has those mannerisms down, and you can really feel that part of the character come out.
Yeah, they changed the makeup. Like she didn't have like as much. The ridges were not as pronounced.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. She almost looked human, kind of.
Right. Because like in the original TNG, the one of the things that they said when they had cast her was like, don't cover up her face and like a lot of prosthetics and stuff like that. So they came up with like the 9 nose ridges for the Bajorans. That's how the Bajorans came about.
Really?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But like this time, they were very subdued. Almost like they were drawn on her.
Right,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird.
Yeah, good point. I didn't think about that at the time, but you're very right about that. And like we learned a little bit about her past, where after the situation with the Maquis, she turned herself into Starfleet.
Yeah.
And then they like Ro and Picard really go at it, and man, every single episode this season has just had a standout performance, like this where two actors usually are just going at it on a Shakespearean level of pathos and emotion, and it's just so palpable and just feels so real. And it's like this was that like, oh my goodness, they both, Picard and Ro, just brought it. And
yeah, they bring it.
And it was true. And by the end of it, you could feel the emotion, like the pain, and when they both finally realized that neither of them are changelings because of the pain they're feeling.
Right. And the whole "you broke my heart."
Yeah, that part. That's the thing. You can't break a changeling's heart.
Yeah.
That's how you know they're real. Well, meanwhile, like oh yeah, well, another thing, Ro brings up these concepts of like institutions aren't perfect, and like you can't just blindly trust Starfleet, which I thought, the whole morality versus duty, because like Picard's calling her out on turning her back on Starfleet and her duty, but she's like, no, the greater morality was doing the right thing, and you can't get caught up because institutions are perfect and blah blah blah. It really I mean, it's a great philosophical conversation, and even though it was just basically touched on, I still love the fact that this just feels very Star Trek to me, because they're still talking about the moral gray areas and the ambiguities and stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely that, but I think that it's also interesting that she should go there when she's in Starfleet security. I mean, because like, they're the people who make sure that other people are following the rules. She's the one who's upholding the law, So, but yes, you don't want those people to blindly follow the rules or whatever. And even in the, it's just interesting, being in that position. I mean, when you yourself have doubts about, what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, very true, very true. It wasn't what she was saying didn't exactly line up with the way they were presenting her as a character, but it definitely, I guess, makes sense in the greater context of the story. We get, people, the crew being beamed into the Titan being beamed onto the Intrepid, and we learn more as after the very real pain they both feel, and they realize they're both each other. We get down to a big exposition dump. Ro's been doing this big investigation. The changelings have infiltrated all sorts of stratas of Starfleet, and this just leads into the only thing that I think is not the most original is the whole Starfleet is compromised trope. I mean, we've seen this before. And I mean, it kind of goes against part of Gene Roddenberry's whole original thing of like he didn't like actual problems with
Conflict,
Starfleet,
yeah.
yeah, conflict in Earth or Starfleet or whatever. But I do realize that you can only do so many stories without some kind of conflict with internal conflict. But I mean, it's just, and I think this is done real well. There's a factor of intrigue and like can't trust anyone because anyone can be a changeling that I'm legitimately excited about. But it's still, there's something, a part of me that just feels the Starfleet is compromised as a trope that we've seen before and a little lazy, but it seems like this is a new way to explore it. So I'll definitely give them that. But
Yeah, I mean, but it goes actually like a little bit of, foreshadowing of what's to come with, you can't have a utopia if you don't know what a utopia looks like. If you don't have like something that's,
right,
a
something to compare it
dystopia.
to.
I also, there was those scenes with Jack, and he was going through, you know, another hallucination, and he was looking. I mean, he was looking pretty skeevy,
Yep.
and
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
and he was like hallucinating. He was killing people in the transporter room.
Can't trust that guy.
No, and then he wakes up in the transporter room, and then he starts like acting all weird to the dude, like, "Hey, dude, can you get me off the ship? Someplace other than Starfleet?" Or, that's just, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Pretty sketchy. Pretty
Yeah.
sketchy. And so we go. We can't forget about, of course, Worf and Rafi.
Right.
We start off with their story. With them basically sparring, and Worf seems to easily beat Rafi, but I wonder if this is kind of a bit of foreshadowing for a little bit later on in the episode. What do you think?
Oh, most definitely. The whole, sparring with somebody, getting to know their moves, so then you can like, figure something out. Yeah.
And we get a little bit more exposition where something they've said before: the attack on Starfleet was just a smokescreen, basically a cover up, a distraction for something even bigger.
Right.
And we learn, there's someone who is in Sneed's orbit named Kryn that looks like he's involved somehow, and he's also very much wanted by the Vulcan High Council.
Right. Yeah. Kryn, the Vulcan gangster.
Yeah. And, so we get Rafi and, Worf out there in District 7. District 6. And I really feel like this incarnation of Worf is kind of like the warrior monk Worf.
Yeah. Yeah, when he kneels down and he's like, I'm just waiting for the alpha, we're the alphas, and I'm waiting for the ecosystem to right itself.
Wild. Alright.
Definitely very warrior monkish.
So we learn soon that Kryn is a Vulcan gangster.
Yeah.
Which, doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but he does say that there is something logical about it. What was his quote?
He was saying that
there can be no utopia without crime.
Yeah. I mean, which, we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta know the darkness to even have a concept for the light.
Right.
And we learned that, they do have mobile emitters here, as we've, speculated before. Looks like the Doctor's, future tech has been incorporated into, mass production, at least with intelligence officers.
Yeah.
Seems like that would probably be the line of work that it would be very useful in,
Yeah.
So eventually, it looks like Kryn got the drop on Rafi and Worf, despite their seeming tactical advantage with all the holograms. His Vulcan intelligence, he out-strategized them and basically captures them.
Right, because the Rafi that we see walking down there with Worf is wearing the mobile emitter on her shoulder.
Right.
Like we saw with Elnor last season. Yeah.
Yeah, so Kryn, he makes Rafi and Worf fight to the death, seemingly.
Right.
And Rafi beats the odds and seemingly beats Worf.
Yeah, because they had trained together, sparred together earlier. They knew each other's moves.
Right.
Yeah, apparently that whole scene was supposed to be a longer scene where they like kind of like had conversations too, but then they decided to cut it down. But it makes sense the way it is. I mean, although Rafi looks really confused.
Right, right, and like there's basically a lot of to do about Klingon blood making me sick, but Worf isn't really dead, and he's doing a very deep meditation to fool them.
Right, the Kalis
The
technique.
Kalis technique, and and basically, Kryn is used as another exposition type of device. They have him. Not torturing him, but interrogating him, very implying torture, perhaps, maybe implying bodily harm. But Kryn basically talks about how there's an advanced AI at Daystrom, which is a security system, but he has some magic MacGuffin to get past it.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's all gonna be okay.
It's all gonna be okay. So if we jump on back to our folks on the Titan, we we learned that there are more of the stuff that Ro was talking about. There's problems all over Starfleet. There's 12 other ships in the fleet that have changeling problems, and we're very, very concerned that since the fleet's going to be on display for their Frontier Day, that's the entire fleet will be attacked.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that seems weird too. Like, how many? I mean, you have your risk management people. I mean, I understand that the changelings are everywhere, but that just seems a little bit, you know, too
Far-fetched,
risky.
yeah.
To have all of your stuff in the same
same
place at the same time.
Someone would say something.
Yeah.
Some non-changeling person.
Right.
And they're like, let's take this to Admiral Janeway, which I thought was a great callback. Let's see a, spin off with Admiral Janeway or, Cisco.
Yeah,
both,
I'm waiting for Cisco to pop up.
Yeah, that would put Picard in his place.
Right.
This season's been a lot of people like basically cursing out Picard.
Right.
So let's get him in too.
At one point in time, I was like, well, is Jack possessed by the Par Wraiths? I thought that, but I was like, nah. But anyway, that'd be interesting.
So, after all the pain, Ro absolutely just forgives Picard. And they buried the hatchet, and Ro passes off in a seemingly symbolic manner her much-loved Bajoran religious earring.
Yes.
And there's a tearful reconciliation, a goodbye, but the problem's not over yet, because Starfleet wants Jack. Our good friend Ro's not going to let that happen, but we'll see how much control she has over that, huh?
Yeah, those security officers who were with her, they were like, but, what about Jack? And she's like, we're leaving, damn it, you know?
Pulled rank. And Picard appeals to Shaw for that basically, we're in danger. All of Starfleet's in danger. The whole Federation's in danger. And, of course, Shaw, he doesn't have that at first.
Security!
Yeah, he's just looking for an excuse, But, the evidence becomes incontrovertible after changelings plant a bomb on Ro's shuttle. Looks like her security officers were not actually her security officers.
Yeah, I thought that was super funny when Shaw wanted to call security on Picard, and Riker was like, no, don't do it,
I belay that order.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, those security guards on the Rose ship, they were, like, not having it. Because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, don't you think that she would have given him the earring before they left him forward? I mean, because
that makes more sense, but it probably wouldn't have been as dramatic.
I guess so, but I mean, yeah, whatever. it moved the plot along.
It did, and Ro sacrifices herself in a blaze of glory. She straight up suicide bombs the nacelle, and she knows that there's no way that she's going to be able to get this off, and she just goes out in a blaze of glory, and she knows that she can do one thing, and instead of trying to move in closer to the Titan for the chance of being transported, she decides to make it count and take out one of the nacelles of the Intrepid, giving the Titan a chance to escape.
Yeah, I mean, but is she really dead?
Dun dun dun. Maybe she's last minute transported off.
Right,
that possibility's still out there.
Exactly. I mean, no body, no death.
Yeah, bring back Ro. Bring
Right.
back Ro. Okay, so I did think that it was interesting. I don't know. I mean, it was very visually appealing, but I don't know if it was super accurate on what the. I don't know if it was super visually appealing, but I don't know if it was super accurate on the visuals of, you know, the Intrepid sinking. Like
Oh, right.
it blew up the nacelle, so I would have felt like maybe it would have moved back or maybe
Rock to
like
the
rack to the
yeah.
side or something. Not just it sank, and it was like a good visual, but what is that? Is that really how gravity works? You know?
Right. Do the physics work like that?
Yeah. I mean, that took me out of it a little bit. So like obviously, Intrepid's pissed. They get ready to fire. But Titan barely gets out of the way just in time from those torpedoes, and they really played it well. Whereas like they're like struggling to go to warp, and right before the torpedoes about to hit, like, pew! It was very well done. The timing of it.
With another LaForge at the helm.
Another LaForge at the helm. Well, Starfleet has been compromised. Changelings trying to take Jack, and Jack goes super soldier and just kills them. 4 of them. He doesn't even know that they're changelings.
Right.
He just knows that they're trying to get him.
Right.
And he just goes into some kind of other mode and turns into a super soldier or super spy or something.
He like activates.
Yes. Yeah, the Manchurian candidate has been activated. And it kind of reminded me of Halbert. I don't know if anyone listening if you followed the recent Rings of Power movie or television series, actually Amazon Prime series to be exact. They actually had a character Halbert who, spoiler alert, ends up being someone who's not. We don't think he is Sauron, and he just starts out as a normal character with his own kind of storyline going on. And then turns out to just be a badass and takes out multiple guys at once, kind of similar to this. There's something up with him, and it ends up he's Sauron at the end. And I'm getting, bits and pieces of that kind of vibe here with him. Starting out as one thing, and then he has this other thing going on, and he, all of a sudden just kicks people's ass out of nowhere. But they ended up being changelings, so that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of interesting if all of a sudden we saw Sauron's eye, you know, like when he's having one of those visions with the vines and the and then you see the eye superimposed over the red door.
Right. Well, we see that Ro wasn't just being super sentimental when she handed Picard that Bajorn earring. She's also being very strategic here because it turns out it was a hidden data chip, and it has her entire investigation about the changelings and everything.
Yeah.
It has more, though, too, right?
Yes, there's more. I mean, because, with that comes a connection to... Worf.
Yeah, so we get to see a small reunion between Worf, Riker, and Picard. Wow.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Right.
And
Admiral.
Yes.
Captain.
So we end off the episode with, another Jack nightmare,
Right.
Jack's a killer. There's something wrong with them, he admits to Beverly there's something very, very wrong with me. I didn't know those people were changelings. I just snapped and killed them. So something's up with Jack. And we see more cryptic visions, more what I think is Beverly's voice. So, and we kind of end with that. So, any big theories on what's going on here?
So, at the end, Beverly's like, oh, I can tell you're not sleeping because your eyes are hollow and whatever, and then it's I remember when you were a kid, you wouldn't sleep either. So I'm thinking that, maybe Jack was born with something, and then that, maybe Beverly did some type of, I don't know, hypnosis or something to suppress some latent whatever that Jack's abilities are, and then now it's starting to slip. Yeah.
Yes.
And then he's got some X gene from Picard, from maybe the Borg or what?
Or something.
Who knows?
Maybe he had Borg sperm.
Yeah.
Or maybe that one of the times Q zacked him.
Yeah.
Some kind of Q continuum energy in his DNA.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
They could just reach into a random episode and be like, remember that time that thing happened to Picard? Well, it altered his DNA and Or, it could be that. It could be something to do with the Dominion or the Changelings. It could be tied into that. It could be a changeling weapon or something, or maybe Beverly injected him with something.
Could be.
It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's a changeling himself. Do you?
No.
Seems like that'd be too simple.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it'd be something convoluted.
Yeah, it's gonna be something convoluted. That well, all in all, I feel like this was another fantastic episode so far. Not been a bad episode this season. Not been a filler episode this season. Every episode this season has really brought it, and I'm pleased and I'm excited to see what happens on the next one.
Yep, me too. Well, all right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yep. Until next time, guys.
Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.